Welcome back to a new episode of The Big Three, the monthly podcast where we unpack the biggest trends, insights, and stories shaping influencer marketing and the creator economy. I'm your host, Ceci Carloni, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ahene, founder of Net Influencer. Nice seeing you again. How's everything going?
Good seeing you as well. Things are going well. Just literally got off of a 16-hour flight journey, and so I'm not as sharp as my usual self. You guys know why. Um, and if you want to know where I went, you guys can hit me up in the DMs, and I'll let you know where I went. But I'm not going to put it out there on the podcast.
Okay. We have a great lineup for today. Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's kick things off with something that might sound a bit corporate, but I actually think it says a lot about where the industry is headed. So, Accenture, one of the biggest consulting firms in the world, just acquired Super Digital, as you know, a social influencer agency that works with brands like Amazon, Apple, and Pinterest. So, we talked about acquisitions, merger before, but I think this isn't just another agency deal. I think this is a sign that influencer marketing is officially getting pulled into the world of global consulting, big budgets, and enterprise level strategy. But I want to hear your thoughts, Ni. When you see a move like this, what do you think it says about where the influencer marketing space sits in the bigger business world right now? Does it feel like a turning point?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a turning point. Accenture, one of the big consultancies, they have clients ranging from the government, various different local, state, and federal or national governments to big corporations and everything in between. And so the fact that they saw the need to acquire a influencer marketing firm kind of underscores the reality that, it doesn't matter if you're a Fortune 500 company like a Toyota or a Nintendo or a Procter and Gamble or a small business that's on Shopify, you absolutely need to understand how to leverage creators to be able to amplify your voice and get in
Yeah.
front of your consumer. So Accenture Song, their task was trying to get the message out there in terms of marketing. And so for them to see the need to acquire an agency specifically for these capabilities, it just shows that this is not
Yeah.
a part of the marketing mix that's going away anytime soon. This is absolutely a key part of the marketing mix that's going to continue to grow in stature over time. So it's a huge
Absolutely.
move for the space, and it's a massive bit of validation for everybody that's working in this space.
I agree. I think this is just one more sign that the influencer marketing space is becoming more professionalized. I said this before and I will say it again. I think it's not a nice to have anymore. It's a must and everyone knows it. Uh, and again, I think influencer marketing it's not getting a bigger slice of the budget anymore. I think it's becoming the centerpiece and now everyone wants in. But me, I also, whenever I see stories like this, I tend to think also about the creators and influencers themselves. If a big agency like Accenture is investing in social media marketing, it could mean more professionalization and potentially more opportunities or changes in how brands run influencer marketing. Do you think the creators themselves are winning too with these kinds of moves in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for the creators themselves, again, the reason why creator marketing works or influencer marketing works is because the creators have established a relationship with their audiences. And as long as there's a true and authentic relationship between the audience and the creators, that's what matters. And so you can't get overly corporate. You can't get overly systematic about how you produce content and why you produce content and the things you're going to say because you're not going to connect with the audiences. And so for me, when I think about this move for creators, I think it's a great thing because it means there's more dollars at play, meaning the more creators will
Absolutely.
have the opportunity to be able to work with brands and make a livelihood out of this space. But I don't see this necessarily meaning that they have to compromise their values, what makes them unique. And so I think this just increases the pie for everybody involved more than it is kind of a detriment to creators and their ability to be authentic on the
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah. Me, and up next, I think this is also related. It's another move in the industry that uh, is getting attention. Private equity is coming for YouTube channels, are buying up YouTube channels now and not just investing. They're acquiring them, putting new people on camera and pushing for more revenue through, brand deals and sponsored content. What's your read on this? I mean, is this a sign of real growth in the creator economy or just the business world trying to cash in on creative spaces?
Well, I think it can be both. I mean, private equity is always looking for opportunities to be able to generate a return for their investors. And so I'm not that surprised that after, call it what, almost 20 years of or 15 years of YouTube, we finally have significant private equity investment in the platform.
Yeah.
I know they've acquired different brands like I know they've acquired brands across the board. And that just shows that there's an understanding that, hey, if there's an audience here and we can kind of inject capital, is there an opportunity for us to accelerate the ability to create content? Now, unlike the story that we
And
spoke about last, there is the challenge that private equity is always looking to make things more efficient. And if that's the case,
exactly.
we don't necessarily know if the quality of the content is going to remain the same or if it's going to decrease over time. In fact, we've seen certain auto channels in particular, because I'm very interested in that space, be taken over by private equity companies. And we've seen a lot of talent leave the organization as a result. And so I think it's going to be a delicate balance between kind
Yeah.
of capital on one side and creators on the other side to understand how to work together. Then, especially if you have creators that work for the brand that aren't necessarily equity owners, how do they feel incentivized to continue to work with that brand through that transition when you have somebody that's looking to just pump out content and may not understand the
Mhm.
audience the way that those original creators do? So I think this I don't think this can you know, destroy creator marketing or the creator economy, but I do think this can change it significantly. And it might be audiences or will be following creators that can kind of keep that authenticity and that connection as opposed to kind of ones that are pumping out a lot of content. I don't want to name names, but there definitely are a couple of YouTube channels that I used to watch all the time. And I've definitely seen that
Yeah.
the quality of the material has gone down after they receive a private equity investments.
Well, that's my concern. I mean, I don't think this is going to be necessarily good for creators because I know that the private equity firms are pushing for more, branded content, sponsored content. So if you're suddenly buying a channel and bringing in new faces to also de-risk burnout, I think that sounds like we're treating creators like content machines, just putting out content for someone else's profit. And when you do that, doesn't it dilute the thing that made that channel valuable in the first place? I mean, the creator's voice, their connection with the audience. So I think I agree there with Uni.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, let's look at Donut Media, for instance. And so that was a very popular YouTube channel and brand. They focused on automotive over time. And they got investment from a PE company called Recurrent Ventures. And, I don't want, there's a lot of you good YouTube videos and podcasts around what happened. But I think the biggest point of tension is if you have a creative vision for a channel or a product, and that creative vision may not necessarily align with kind of the constraints of, hey, we need to produce a video for $1,000 a piece or $5,000 a piece. And that's the tension that you're gonna have when you have PE coming into a channel, is that they're gonna have KPIs or key performance indicators they want to hit in terms of performance, and they may not necessarily fit the creative ideas that somebody has. Can you just imagine if somebody went to Mr. Beast or Jimmy Donaldson and said, "Hey, you can only spend $10,000 for video," would Mr. Beast would be who Mr. Beast is today? And that's the tension that needs to kind of play out with these the private equity model, is that
Yeah.
folks on both sides, the creative sides need to be able to explain their vision to say, yeah, this particular video might cost $1 million to make, but this is what we think we can get for it. And the PE side needs to understand, hey, we can't necessarily make everything cookie cutter. And how the two different sides come together and how well they do that is really going to define what happens over time. And
So
then finally, let me just add to that that I know for a fact that Mr. Beast Enterprises, Jimmy's company, is raising equity. It will be very interesting to see kind of how he's able to kind of keep his control and create a vision while bringing other capital into the cap table. So I think that's a story that I'm much interested in following through 25 into 26.
seeing how that balance is achieved, is that what you mean? The balance
It's
between
yeah, it's absolutely the balance between capital and creativity, right? Because if money was no object, I'm pretty sure we would have creators making incredible content. But at the end of the
Mm,
day, if these things are being invested in as a business, they need to return capital to the
yeah.
shareholders and the people on the cap table. And that's the tension that exists kind of throughout kind of the private equity versus artisan kind of a paradigm. But I think we're going to see it especially acutely in the creator economy.
Yeah. Well, Lee, the last story of the day is about McDonald's backing up the collection of smalls theory. I think this is like a new strategy presented at Cannes by Grace Kite and Tom Roach that basically says the old rules of brand building don't work anymore. Brands shouldn't chase one big idea, they should rather focus on smaller niche communities that actually drive culture. So instead of going all in one brand message, McDonald's is leaning into fandoms like Minecraft, manga, K-pop, and investing in platform-specific content that speaks directly to those spaces. Before I ask you for your thoughts, this is what I think. I do like the theory. I think there's real value in tapping into niche communities. It makes people feel seen. Like, I don't know, if I'm a K-pop fan and I see McDonald's drop a K-pop nugget collab, of course, I'm gonna feel like that brand gets me. But at the same time, what happens to the rest of the audience? Is there a risk that in trying to connect with the small niche audiences, you lose the connection with the bigger picture? I guess I'm still trying to figure out where the balance is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I didn't have the chance to listen to the actual presentation at Cannes, but I understand this theory of smalls. And I don't think it means that you turn off the brand completely, right? You're always going to have McDonald's with big billboards and sponsorships and things like that. But
Okay.
but to be able to generate incremental alpha in terms of your brand affinity, doing that just to big activations is going to be challenging. Once you get the name ID, everybody knows what McDonald's is for the most part. If you're in the Western world, you know what McDonald's are. Then what are you doing to get certain audiences to have a greater affinity towards McDonald's? And that's when these sub niches and sub communities come into play. And so if McDonald's does a collab with Fortnite, all of a sudden the people who are very into Fortnite, there's a reason for them to come into a McDonald's. If McDonald's does a collab with Sabrina Carpenter with her new album, then all the Sabrina Carpenter friends, they have a reason to come into the McDonald's. And I think that is a strategy that we're really talking about. It really, I mean, if you think about it, it's a bit of a play on the old school synergy marketing campaigns, which was how do you
Okay.
take one brand and another brand that may not have anything to do with each other, but put them together to create something that both fandoms are interested in?
Yeah.
It's that same concept, but it's doing it on a micro level. And that's the power of the creator economy because we have so many different creators that have so many different kind of followings that are focused on so many different topics. You can reach out to the woodworking creator or the kitchen appliance creator or the bathroom remake over creator.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not necessarily going to work for McDonald's, but it could work for Home Depot. And so that's the opportunity that this kind of small concept kind of exists for. It's like, great, we know that the brand is here as a halo. We're going to continue to put the brand out there so people understand the brand exists. But for us to drive incremental alpha, what are these small activations that we can do 10 or 20 of them in a quarter to be able to push certain groups into our audience or into our stores or into our restaurants? And so for me, I love the concept. It really shows kind of the long tail of interest that we as people have. And it really
Absolutely.
taps into the reality of the creator economy because you have creators that talk about everything and anything. And for the first time ever, the folks on the long tail can start to participate in some of the brand activations that
Yeah.
exist and the big dollars that are associated with that.
Yeah. Me, I'm not into K-pop or manga or any of those niches, but what about you? What collab would you like to see?
Well, I'm a big not a K-pop fan, but I'm a big F1 fan. So obviously,
Okay.
and I'm seeing that. Like I see, the activations that I think Lando Norris has with Marriott. I believe that's the hotel Shane he's associated with. I love that concept. There's only 20 drivers on the F1 circuit, 22 next year. And if we could see more activations with racing, I love that. And I would be all over that. And maybe it won't make me go to McDonald's. I'm kind of trying to eat healthy, but it would make me consider staying at a Marriott. Oh, this
Yeah.
is where Lando Norris stayed. I can see his helmet, for winning second place this year. Happy to kind of see that. That'd be very cool.
Absolutely. Well, Lee, that wraps up our episode of the big three for this month. Thanks for tuning in and exploring the latest stories with us. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next in influencer marketing and the creator economy. Until next time, Lee, I'm Ceci. Talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.